Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Did you enjoy last evening? I thought so, but it didn't stop you to come here at 9 o'clock in the morning, so kudos to you. Today we are a little bit more complex setup because we will have some participation here, some participation remotely, some from Africa, from Moldova, but it seems everything is working. So welcome again. dg.o is a global research conference. It joins researchers, active researchers from around the world, across geographic, thematic, political, cultural boundaries. We are all very different, and yet we share one concern in how digital technology is transforming public administration, public policy, and the relationships between the governing and the governed. We also share a concern that publicly funded research is not only to produce sound and rigorous results, but is fulfilling a public mission, which includes translating sound research into sound policy and practice. So today's session was shaped exactly with this spirit in mind, to give voice to influential digital government practitioners and one prominent digital government researcher, Marijn, to discuss the topics of digital government infrastructure, scaling up of such infrastructure, and democratizing access to services hosted on such infrastructure. This is a very rich session. We will start with welcome address, presenting the Polish perspective and experience on this topic. We will continue with a keynote, which conveys the international perspective and experience. Then we will host a discussion panel that shares various national perspectives and confronts research and practice. And after coffee break, we will have a workshop, a research consultation workshop, where you are all warmly welcome to attend on this topic. So not to delay any further, it's my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker in this session. Ms. Kinga Pasternak is the Vice Director of the GovTech Polska program and a spokesperson of the GovTech Center, both hosted in the Office of the Prime Minister, and she will tell us about the GovTech as a Polish digital transformation tool. Please join me in welcoming Kinga. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. It's really a great pleasure to be here, and I want to thank for the invitation. Thank you for having me here and for allowing me to tell you something that GovTech is and what GovTech does. So as Professor introduced me, I am a Deputy Director of the GovTech Poland program, which is based in the Chancellery of the Prime Minister, which is basically the Prime Minister's office. And it is such an honor to be here and to speak to you and to tell about what we do. And if I could please the presentation. All right. So that's the first one, we got it. So what actually GovTech is? As I said it before, GovTech Polska is based in the Chancellery of the Prime Minister, and as you can see, we are doing lots of stuff, and we're doing with lots of different things, such as AI, such as competences of the future, such as hackathons and innovative procurement. This is not all of our main fields of work, but actually it's a small piece. Starting with AI, we are actually helping the public sector and to develop the Polish AI strategy. So our strategy is combined with 6 different topics, starting from education till the science and research, to the development of our public sector, and of course our private sector as our business sector. Actually, we are helping the public sector, and we are known of it because we are helping the public sector to solve their problems, or as we call it, the challenges. Lots of public sector entities, lots of small government, local governments come to us and they want to solve the problem. For example, they need a program to deal with the not the government, but I will tell you about the Rwanda Polska, which is the main Polish oil and business, which actually gives all of the gas, as you could see, the Orlen. So actually we are helping them to develop the solution that will help with their problems. We are actually using the service jams, the design thinking method, and also a hackathons. About the hackathons, we are actually first of Polish public administration to do the hackathon, and we actually have the largest hackathon in Europe done, and we are still wanting to do the Hackia powered by GovTech. The hackathon in this year would be the best stationary hackathon in the world, so fingers crossed. We are actually known as one of the biggest young leaders program in the whole public administration. We want to invite youngsters, young people from the secondary schools after they finish the 16 years old. We are actually inviting them to work with us and to develop the public administration. So last of our program, we had like over 1,000 applications. So I think it's quite popular. All right. Now I'm telling about innovative procurement. We developed the GovTech Polska platform for contests, which basically helps to develop and to buy new technologies for not only the public sector, but for any firm or business. So it's open to everyone. Anyone that need a innovative challenge or innovative solution, they could come to us and they could use our platform, which is actually contest GovTech, govtechcontest.gov.pl, and they can use it to do the contest, which is actually fully digital, and it's really easy to participate because not only the firms, not only all of the IT guys can participate, but actually it means that anyone, literally anyone, could participate in the contest. So if you have the idea, and if you have the best idea, you can win the contest, you can get the money from the public sector, and you can develop the solution, and also you can develop it more and more after the first step. All right. I mentioned about hackathons. Yes, we are known from the biggest hackathon, Hackia, in Europe, and we really want to develop it for the biggest hackathon in. Do you know what hackathon is? Yes, you know. Yeah. So it's a coding challenge. So we're the first fiscal service to do their own hackathon challenge. First fiscal service in the whole world. And actually, we are the first public institution that hackathon is powered by. So we are really proud of it. Actually, We have many successes because we have many partners that participate in the hackathon. And as you can see, here is our Prime Minister. He also likes hackathons and likes to being the part of it. And now about the education, which is basically main field that we're working on as GovTech right now. As I said earlier, GovTech is cross-ministerial, so we are working with Ministry of Education and Science in Poland, and we are actually the part of Main Tech, which is actually the technical sphere of Ministry of Education and Science. Do you know what are those? All right, so these are future careers. Some of them doesn't even exist right now, but we have to be prepared for them, to fulfill them, and to give the opportunity to do this kind of occupations. To develop that, we have to focus on talents. Each and every one of us has a specific talent, and we have to find it and help developing it to do the impossible, I would say. All right. Oh, the next one. Oh. Just to give you an overview of the Polish educational system, we have 4.6 million school children and 1.3 million students. Actually, we have 47,000 schools and about 500 universities and 100,000 of academics. So this gives us the fifth number in EU. And during the pandemic, these groups had to switch overnight to working remotely and remote education. And it wasn't possible if ain't their commitment and endurance. So our strategy focuses on three key areas: skills, connectivity, and equipment. Okay, so with the overall goal of reaching full digital transformation in the upcoming years and becoming the lighthouse for the rest of the Europe. Starting with skills, our goal is to develop 4 areas: collaboration, creativity, digital nativeness, and ability to solving problems. So in the near setting as well as lifelong learning. For that purpose, we actually did coding as a compulsory subject from age 7 to 12. And you might hear it about, you might heard it because we got the WSIS Forum prize for that in 2018. We actually have the biggest code week in the whole world because we got 20,000 spontaneous coding events during the Code Week, the World Code Week. So we are actually really good in coding and programming. When it comes to investing, we have working on 300 educational centers for the teachers to develop the skills and to share their experiences and share their skills. We are actually did in terms of connectivity. Almost every primary school has been outfitted with the fast broadcast network, which is 100 megabytes per second. And we are planning to invest on artificial intelligence, as I said earlier, cloud solutions, and cybersecurity. What we did in last year, we launched the Future Labs program, which is the biggest invest in history of Poland. Each and every primary school in Poland has is equipped with 3D printers, microcontrollers, video broadcasting equipment, and lots of different things that could develop their skills. Our main goal was to give them infrastructure, to give them tools to use new technologies. And we have also a Future Labs mobile version, because we have 16 buses in 16 voivodeship of Poland, and there are actually, the buses go each and every day to each and every school, and they give the lessons, and they do the workshops with students, and actually they work with teachers too. So it's all about exchanging the knowledge, exchanging the skills, and developing the new solutions of using the equipment they got. Which is important, that the equipment they got from the Future Labs, they can use not only during the lessons, but they can use it as a students' clubs, and all the free time. They are allowed to use it and to do it whatever they want and whatever they need the equipment to. All right, so next one. Doesn't work. Nie działa? Następny. Tak. Oh, all right, so that's too much. So Future Labs, but we are actually changing the system right now, because we just changed one of the subjects in secondary schools, because we we did a foundations of entrepreneurship. That was a subject that we switched to the business and entrepreneurship, or business and management new subject. And what is the new here? That you can get the Matura exam, and using that subject, you can go to the economical university, and one of main part of your grade to succeed is the project. So you have to do the project to do the Matura exam of business and entrepreneurship, and actually to go to the university. And it's actually very much different, because as you probably know, in Poland, when it comes to Matura exam, everything is based on knowledge. And here we want to do the grade based on your project and on your work as a team, and cooperating, as I said earlier. It may seem impossible that we did all over that, and it really is a thing to say as a GovTech member, that we are kind of a task force for the Prime Minister's office, because when everyone says that something is impossible, we say, GovTech, everything is possible. I will tell more about our projects during the panel. Thank you for having me, and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Kinga, for your insightful presentation. There will be time for questions afterwards. But now I'd like to, it's my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Yolanda Martinez. He's with ITU in Geneva. I don't know whether you're aware that ITU is the oldest UN agency, actually established in 1865 as an international telegraph union. Actually predates, of course, the United Nations, established in 1945. Yolanda serves as the overall lead of the GovStack initiative. It's a multi-stakeholder initiative which aims to break down the barriers to building sustainable digital infrastructure, digital public infrastructure, and help government create human-centered digital services. Yolanda has an extensive policy and management experience in digital government field. She was the National Digital Strategy Coordinator in the Presidency of the Republic of Mexico. She was country representative for Inter-American Development Bank, Chief of Digital Government Unit at Mexico City, which is a big city. Yes, national. Yes, yes. She was public policy advisor for the digital government for the presidential transition team in Mexico and international digital government advisor at AIDB, the Inter-American Development Bank, OECD, World Bank, and others. She is really bringing a wealth of experience in digital government, digital development, open data, and digital skills. So please join me in welcoming Yolanda Martínez.
If I move, the camera is able to follow for the colleagues that are connected, or should I remain here? Okay. So thank you so much. I'm very happy to see everyone here. I arrived here yesterday, and I would like to share that I feel so inspired. I had the opportunity to listen to amazing presentations. I went into the track of government applications, and I truly hope that next year we can have a very similar track with applications developed using the technical specifications of GovStack and working with the governments that we are supporting, especially less developed countries, to close the gap and to really design services based on user needs, user journeys, live events, and a standard-based technical specification. And this is something that is an ecosystem-driven effort, and I'm truly honored and thankful for the opportunity to share with you what we are doing, but also to have the opportunity in the consultation workshop to gather your insights, your ideas, your talent, your passion in making a research agenda that is relevant and that is built in an open and collaborative manner. So to get started, I would like to kick off with a video.
Behind the scenes of any digital transaction, from applying for identity documents to booking a doctor's appointment, is a series of digital components all working together to complete the task. Each component in the process is called a building block, and each block has a very specific job. A building block could be your platform, a piece of code, a protocol, or an application. When we stack these building blocks, they create the digital foundation for the vital services we all rely on. At GovStack, we take the guesswork out of building these stacks, helping governments to create digital services that are scalable, cost-effective, and built to last. Anaya wants to register for a child healthcare program now that her baby has been born. She confirms her ID number, and the building blocks get to work. The information mediator helps all the blocks speak to each other safely and securely, while the other blocks do the jobs they're designed for. From checking Anaya is Anaya to sending a message to let her know the registration has been successful. The same building blocks can be reused to help Sahil apply for an electronic voucher to buy his son a school textbook. That's the magic of building blocks. You don't need to create bespoke solutions every time a new service has to be delivered. This means that critical services run more efficiently, saving money and most importantly, improving people's lives, leaving time to focus on the things that matter.
Thank you. Since everything went well with the video, I can go directly to the half of the presentation already. So how we make the stack possible? We are building a global toolbox for e-government, and coming from a very practitioner background, this comes very in handy to save a lot of time to digital teams around the world. And we have structured our offering in 4 main areas. And in everything you're going to see, I would really like to recognize a very passionate, multidisciplinary team behind all this work. Service designers, product managers, developers, chief architects, and policymakers that truly believe heart in mind in what we're doing. And we really hope to expand the community by working together with the Digital Government Society. So first track is we work in developing standard-based technical specifications, meaning basic common functionalities and their corresponding APIs. Second track is to the GovStack sandbox, which is going to be ready Q3 of this year, where open software products that are compliant to the technical specifications are going to be available for developers to design services based on these building blocks. The Government Exchange is a platform to encourage sharing of digital public goods, open source software with certain functionalities, but also to encourage and incentivize GovTech ecosystem. We just listened a very good example from Poland policies to publishing RFP proposals, implementation opportunities based on reusable DPGs, and GovLearn, which is a set of capacity building opportunities, mainly focused on tailor-made training, but also in the vast offering of online resources that are going to be available in the Thingy platform. And we engage with countries by focusing on building the capabilities of service design based on user needs and reusable software components. The countries that we work with identify 1 or 2 priority services that they develop using these technical specifications and starting with the sandbox, the open source software that is going to be available, and also by implementing along the way using the GovStack implementation playbook, where we hope to map a lot of the amazing work that you are doing to provide evidence to policy making when they are preparing their different policies to tailor their work. The technical specifications are available in Gitbook. We have so far developed 9. We structured the work of the technical specifications through technical working groups. We have so far technical specifications for the most common building blocks in any government stack: identity, digital registries, information mediator, payments, consent, messaging, scheduling, and workflow, with their corresponding security and architecture requirements. And we're working and ready to release in Q3 of this year technical specifications for geographic information systems, marketplace, hosting, and infrastructure, UX, UI, which is extremely important, and e-signature. And what you see in yellow is because once we start the rollout, we're currently working with 16 countries. The next wave, which will be wave 4, we hope to build new technical specifications to be added to the global stack based on country demand. So based on the initial country implementation, especially Horn of Africa countries, what you see in pipeline is content management technical specification that we're going to develop through an open call to the DPG community, and also a case management system with anti-corruption case the Anti-Corruption Commission in Kenya to develop the new generation of case management system using this approach. How technical specifications looks like, hopefully this works, because at least on my side I see it very white, but the technical specifications describe the functionality, the data structure, and the APIs that are needed in each of the building blocks. I saw many presentations yesterday, so this is what we're really encouraging for government and developing teams to use, and to save them a lot of time in developing their own stack or updating their stack. We put a lot of work in the UX UI of the sandbox. The company that won this specific tender have a great service design team to really make it very easy for any policymaker, high-level people, but also developers to experience how a citizen sees a service that is fully integrated, basically seamless. I just get there and share my credential and get my high school record. But behind that, that took 2 seconds, it's a lot of things happening in the back. And we really put a lot of effort in showcasing the service from a citizen point of view, also from a public servant point of view, and in the right-hand side, how the different building blocks are interoperating in the back. The sandbox will be available to test and to host reference use cases that can facilitate filling this in a very practical manner, this approach. The GovExchange is a platform to showcase use cases, but more importantly, to showcase digital public goods coming from countries. There is already a vast of public goods catalogs, products available in the Dial catalog and in the Digital Public Alliance catalog. And what we're doing with the exchange is to feature that community and also match RFP proposals and implementation opportunities. How we approach GovLearn, we build capacity along the way, the engagement with the countries. We work a lot in strengthening the political support to these type of initiatives, taking digital transformation as a state policy, which is a very good example, and we're going to hear from Moldova and from Rwanda how they're also embracing these very aggressive targets to have 100% of the digital government services available online in the next 2 years. We work a lot in having digital government roadmaps, policy, and yesterday that I was sharing a very passionate conversation with Natej. Yes, the standards are important, but more important is that standardization and the usage of those standards across all government entities and across different levels of governments. And to do that, digital authorities require a very strong mandate. Complementing the work on the institutional and the policy level and the governance level, we work in a very concrete set of implementation projects, always with 1 or 2 priority services. And we had a very good experience, and that's what really inspired us to reach out to the research community with Taltech. 4 thesis master's students, 2 PhDs, working hand in hand in developing the playbook, in accompanying the process of the implementation of e-cabinet in Djibouti, and it was an amazing experience for the students, for the government, to build very strong knowledge-based products that can help the sustainability of this type of initiatives. We put a lot of effort in service design best practices, really simplifying the processes, simplifying service catalog. 80% of government services is to request information that other government entities have. You don't need to digitize that, you need to interconnect that. Then the 20% of the services that you really need, you can really focus and develop a new generation of government services that really anticipate the need. I was so impressed to see so many AI-enabled services examples through the conference in the recognitions that were given yesterday. And we're very much looking forward to get to know what you are doing and to listen to your proposals in the consultation session on how to best interact and take advantage of all this talent and passion that all of us have. Prototyping, we really want to leverage the sandbox to make very easy to prototype, to test. Inspiring in the hackathon, Kenya is running a hackathon to pose challenges of how they envision. This is the 3rd generation of the case management system, really enabled by AI data analytics that can really speed up the cycle of case management follow-up, but also anticipate and better predict where the corruption areas are and how to best leverage and mitigate those risks. Procurement, I think Poland gave us a very good example, and not yesterday in the conversation about the GovTech ecosystem in the Netherlands, is key. If we simplify how we make ICT procurement, if we diversify and provide access to startups together with big tech firms, nobody is against that. We just need to leverage what each type of person in the ecosystem can deliver, the more we can speed the process of digitizing government services. Piloting and scaling up, which is one of the biggest challenges. We have a very speed up process of really understanding what is the context and the needs of the country. We do follow a process of really prioritizing which services digitize first based on feasibility and impact, really into very simple simplification practices, mostly prioritizing interoperability, and doing an assist and a to-be analysis of the user journey, really putting the public servants that are working on this on the shoes of the citizens. Take the bus. See what it implies to be a mom, take the bus, go to the register office to find someone that is telling you that it's closed or that a system is not working. Then you need to go 3 days. When public servants start really understanding how hard it can be, what are the pain points, what are the touch points that can really be improved with a digital experience, it's completely amazing how they commit into really applying these best practices and making a very meaningful user journey. The prototyping, the technical orchestration of the services, we work a lot in terms of enterprise architecture, microservices architecture, and we do that with the playbook. The playbook is a step-by-step process. It's a compilation of best practices. We love to showcase countries that participated. We launched last year a GovStack Special Prize on Digital Service Design. Moldova is the winner. I'm very happy that we're going to have the opportunity to talk to Olga. We have 50 applications, 50 for around the world. We were so motivated with the level of sophistication that all governments and the level of interest in implementing these approaches. You're going to see a lot of examples there. And in the playbook, we love to feature evidence that can help policymakers to showcase their business cases according to what the research community is providing. So we're really looking forward to showcase a lot of the work and the evidence that you are generating as part of the resources of the playbook available for countries. Just to give a quick glance and to open up for the panel, we work according to the different contexts and needs. And what we meet, for example, Egypt is a middle-income country, very strong in terms of the digital agenda. And when we launched GovStack, because we did a kickoff with them last year, they were like, okay, we're about to renew some building blocks in our stack. And we would like to use the technical specification as a reference. And that's what we are doing. So they are in a different level of maturity, and they found the technical specification very in hand to start standardizing their stack. Other countries that are not in that level, but it's going to be the first generation of the stack, the ones that they are going to adopt, are Djibouti and Somalia, so they're using the technical specification of GovStack as the first generation of the stack that they're going to build. Ukraine, they developed DIA app and a very strong backend system. We're working with them in converting the registries platform behind the DIA app into a digital public good, completely aligned to GovStack technical specifications. Rwanda, we were going to hear from Gloria, very aggressive digitization effort. They're launching a new service, which is the extended producer responsibility. Kazakhstan as a champion, they have something that is called Smart Bridge, which is an interoperability platform that they developed, inspired in X-Road, with a very impressive, strong mandate. The same way of Estonia, is mandatory to use a Smart Bridge to enable public and private services. So, and what we expect to hear in the consultation session at 11 with you is how to best tailor a research focus, how to best interact with you, connect with your students, with your research agenda, how to best contribute to the community in main informant areas, digital public infrastructure, data exchange, open source, and AI-enabled services, climate and gender as transversal way. These are the questions that we're going to be posted at 11. We really hope to see you there to help us strain this effort. And we launched in April this year in the African Summit, the Women in GovTech Challenge. And this is the first iteration of the program. Applications are open until August 31st. It's targeted to women working in government digital teams. They need to post a challenge, a service that they are currently working with, that they would like, based on the training that they're going to receive in terms of the technical specifications and with a partnership of Coursera with university credits, design a service using the GovStack capabilities. And we have two tracks: participants, which are women working in government, but also mentors. And I see many women in this community that I hope to see as mentors, because we would like to do this iteration this year, but run many type of iterations at the next one. So this is an open call to see all this community helping us in this challenge. Applications are August 31st. Training starts in November to February. It's 8 weeks bootcamp type of training, and best projects are going to be showcased in the World Summit of Information Society 2024. And with that, we open for the panel without giving an announcement. Feliz cumpleaños, Tomasz. Happy birthday, Tomasz.
You surprise me. Thank you very much, Yolanda. It's, I'm beyond the age where you celebrate birthdays, but still it's nice. I'd like to now welcome Yolanda and Kinga to the podium, and we have opening the floor for questions. We have 5-10 minutes for questions from the audience. Please raise your hand. I'm sure there's some questions came to your mind during the both insightful. Boyega, please.
Thanks for the both presentations. And this for Yolanda. I'm just wondering the role of the private sector in some of the projects that you have in Africa in particular. So the business models around those services and the sustainability. So how is the private sector engaged in all this?
Private sector engage in basically providing trainees and implementation. And it can be, as long as you as private sector, and when I say private sector, it could be a startup or it could be a big tech firm, as long as they comply with the terms of reference, that's the way they involve. We have in the GovStack website an entire section on how to get involved, and we publish every time that we tender all our procurement process. And in the GovExchange, that's the purpose of the exchange. It's a global marketplace, and we really want to encourage the community, especially the local community, to participate, but we do everything by open calls.
Yeah. The reason why I'm asking is that most of the services that have worked very well in developing countries would have very strong public sector, because government itself is just not able to run some of these innovative services. So without very deep engagement and having a business model that ties to the private sector, I just feel that a number of these are almost bound to not work. Initially, once you move off, sustainability becomes the problem, and it goes, there's just no capacity, right? So I feel right from the beginning, the architecture should have this strong business model that ties in the private sector.
Thank you for the feedback, and I take note on that because the tenders that we're running are from the different partners, GIC, UN Global Marketplace, but there are other tenders that are run by the countries. For example, the one in Kenya. So the Anti-Corruption Commission came with the idea of the hackathon and of working with local GovTech ecosystems to participate first in the hackathon, feature new technology that they would like to represent in the tender. But in the tender, the objective is to have local startups coming into place. And also in the sustainability, one of the major challenges that we have found is that when working with open source, we need to work with the local community, university, students, startups that can really leverage the technical specification standards and APIs, so they standardize the product offering and limited the cost of having to customize too much the product, especially those that work with local governments, to really focus more on reaching scalability. That's where we are in the process, and that's why we're very eager in the consultation effort that we're doing to find the best way to engage with research community at the global level, but also help develop the research community at the local level where we are implementing. So thank you so much for the comment and the feedback.
Okay, questions? I have one, okay, Dieter.
Thank you. My name is Dieter Barrosa. I'm from the Netherlands. Thank you both for the presentations. And we see a lot of energy now on bringing in the creativity and capacity of the private sector, startups, scale-ups, entrepreneurships, but also universities in helping develop better components for the public sector, helping the digital transformation. One of the big challenges I see in practice is in the capacity at government agencies to identify these opportunities, to be willing to do experiments and pilots. There is also a culture of sustaining things because it's clear who is now in the lead and who is now the director of a certain program. How do you deal with this in practice, this cultural resistance to build internal openness or willingness to experiment with new technologies?
Do you want me to go first? Okay, so first of all, we have a team that is actually, now we have the team of 150 people. So part of them doing the education stuff, and part of them is based on the Chancellor of the Prime Minister, and part of them, the people, they are still working on, you know, talking with the local governments, talking with the others, and developing the solutions. So we have the team that does only this the main goal is to maintain the contact with others, and so they could help develop us the solutions. And also we have all of the consultation with the project. So if we do any project, we do the public consultation, so anyone could join in, chip in, and actually give us the tips to make it better, make it more efficient.
And I think, as I was listening to Kinga's presentation, I think more and more, and I had the opportunity by now to work in every continent, you see a lot of passion in the people that is running digital government initiatives of GovTech initiatives. And the more we provide as a global community tools that can accelerate from idea to launching a service, the better, because sometimes you find resistance when it starts taking longer to develop the service and to launch the service, because then it can be politicized. So to mitigate the risk, the more you are able to deliver, to prototype, to choke quick wins, that's why the prioritization exercise is so key. And when we go with countries, it's very different. The type of priorities are completely different in one country to another. But I think more and more people in GovTech are really passionate about working in public sector and contributing. And the more we help as an ecosystem to deploy and to deliver, the more credibility they gain. And teams are starting to grow because politicians are also looking for results.
I think it's constant work and constant working on other people to, give us the challenges and to give us the challenge to develop, to solve, and maintaining the trust of others. So constant work.
Okay, thank you. More questions? Maybe I have one for Kinga. I like this phrase, turning impossible into possible.
I love it as well. Love it.
Is the location of GovTech within Prime Minister's office actually helpful to realize this motto, or are you experiencing pushback from powerful ministries who cherish autonomy and independence in deciding how to pursue technological?
To be honest, we have the small team and we cannot do anything that other ministries want us to. But actually, we are based at the Prime Minister's office, as I said, and this is important in two ways. First of all, our administration is silo, and it's silo-based. So each and every ministry has its own public affairs department and digital department. So it was really important to put us in the whole top of the administration level, so we could work cross-ministerial. So we are working with each and every ministry, like the AI policy, because we need to understand that digitalization is a whole process, and each and every ministry, each and every part of the public administration should work for it, because we seem that each and every ministry got their own, digital solution, but what's it for if you cannot develop it, or if you're using it, and if we couldn't scale it up, it's it's just waste of money and time. So it's really important that do these projects as multi and cross-section way.
And I think complementing that, definitely being in terms of governance, being at the highest political level, the easier it is to raise awareness. And once you raise awareness, I think the beauty is that most of the cases, these teams are really agile teams. And in their agenda is a service orientation. So it was the same in Mexico. So when I saw your layout, it was exactly the same. And we found very little resistance because we are a service team. And we love to serve the other ministries. So the Ministry of Economic Affairs is responsible for running the economic agenda of Mexico. And we are, a big country, 8 visited around the world. So he's busy running that agenda. Our work was to serve him, run this agenda better with the digital component. Same with the Ministry of Health, same with the Ministry of Education. So when they see digital teams are their best leverage to move forward their agenda, that relationship really change into a partnership. And I think that's super key. But it's also very relevant to deliver. You mentioned that you have 150 people. That's a luxury, given the size of Poland, and it's amazing. And I'm sure that you have that team because you build credibility along the way to gain support, to get the funds, and congratulations on that.
Yes, and after the other projects, the other ministries, the other entities come to us and they want to do more with us, and we can do it. We can develop we can share the knowledge. We can develop their projects with our help, and they can grow and they can just do the work, digitalization.
Thank you very much. It's time to bring to the podium our participants who will join remotely. I'd like to welcome Gloria Ingabire, joining from Rwanda. Gloria is Division Manager of the Enterprise Architecture at the Rwanda Information Society Authority. Hello, Gloria, you are muted.
Hello, hi.
Super. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. Let me just couple of questions. How did you approach the challenge of developing your services? Did you start with strategy? How did you progress? What challenges you were facing?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank each and everyone, especially Yolanda, for inviting me. It is very exciting for me to be here. So Rwanda, we started with policy and organization structure. Rwanda emerging from the ashes of a devastating genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. It has demonstrated resilience and determination in building its society. So since then, we have become a beacon of progress, embracing technology as a catalyst of positive change. So our digital journey started in 2000, led by our visionary leadership, who set up national ICT strategies. So those ICT strategies and plan were split into 4 phases. So for us, as I said, we started with policies and organization. As we understand, we had nothing. We had to start with what we had, which were the people of Rwanda. So we used the existing skills in the country, but again, we sent our people abroad to learn and acquire necessary skills. So the second phase, after actually we set up the policy and the organization, we now thought that, the infrastructure would be, the next step. So because we had to build solution on top of, infrastructure, since we had policies and people, which were the organization in charge of driving this mission. So now we started deploying fiber optics across the country and engaging telco companies across the world to come and operate in Rwanda. That was the second phase. Then, after setting up, the infrastructure, now we started the e-government platform journey. We started developing different platforms from, the national ID registry up to, the driving license issuers. So the challenges were many. As I heard from the audience, someone asked about the skills in the government, and the openness to embrace the change. So I think when people see values from something, I think they embrace it and everyone will be engaged into it. So I don't know if I can continue, and maybe up to today, also at the second phase, which was the third one, which was to develop e-government platform. The fourth, actually, now that we started investing in the ICT, we saw that we had really, our investment in digital transform grew, and we turned our attention to leveraging what we had achieved in the fourth phase with the theme of Rwanda as a knowledge-based economy. It was during this time that our leadership recognized that we need the need for adjustment, and we developed another strategy, national strategy for transformation, which was a 7-year program. I think Yolanda mentioned it in her speech. Our ambition to digitizing all the government services at 100%, and we have to ensure that 60% of our population are ICT literate, and also increase our broadband penetration. So through this journey, I want to touch on the reusable component, what Yolanda presented, So through this journey, we have learned that the key to a faster and more effective digital transformation lies in reusable components and building blocks. Currently, we are in the process of implementing a single digital ID, a government low-code and no-code platform, which will help us actually to faster onboard government services online. We are in the process of building a government data hub. We have e-signatures, and we have recently launched our first in-house developed API gateway. I think Yolanda also mentioned that it's our enterprise service bus. So we believe with this reusable components, we will be even more efficient, actually. But again, Thomas, challenges still exist, particularly in terms of human resources. I want to touch on that because in the audience, I was, that question really sticks with me. So we must ensure that our government is equipped with the necessary skills and tools to stay prepared for emerging technology. For example, today we have entered in the era of artificial intelligence. So it is crucial for our people to acquire knowledge and experience and expertise to become proficient engineers. So in conclusion, Rwanda's journey of resilience and transformation really serves as a powerful testament for other governments to a potential of digital government and solidarity in this unstable world. It is with our partners that we have been able to achieve this, and then to emphasize, it is through collective effort and collaboration that Rwanda can continue to advance its digital agenda and ensure that no one is left behind. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gloria. Please hold on online. We will have some time for questions shortly. I'd like to now introduce Olga Tumuruc. She's from Moldova. She's leading Moldovan E-Governance Agency, MEGA, which is an institution that brings technologies into government, rethinks government processes, improves public services, and make them work for the benefit of citizens. Olga, you were the winner of the GovStack Special Prize for Digital Service Design. Can you tell us about your experience with GovStack and what was the benefit you achieved, what challenges you encountered to follow GovStack standards?
Okay. Well, yes, indeed, we are the winner of the prize, and we are very thankful for this international recognition for our front office digitization platform. Maybe to let everyone understand what is this platform about and why we got the prize for it, maybe, and how it fits, how it respects the GovTech standards. Well, first of all, I will mention that in Moldova, we have in place a fully functional e-Gov ecosystem that we've been developing for over 10 years. So these are enabling services and building blocks for payments, authentication, signing, for data exchange, for notification, for delivery. And all of them, they are facilitating and fastening the digitalization of public services. But nevertheless, during the years, the number of digital services did not dramatically increase. And the reason was the lack maybe of technical knowledge, financial resources, and capabilities. Additionally, the digitalization of public services is not the main business of the service providers. That is why understanding that digitization of public services must get a new team, we developed this platform, front office digitization platform. And it is a framework containing a collection of visual components and integration libraries that enables rapid design and development of front office for digital governmental services. And FOD components, they are designed to be user-centric, support provide a simple and user-friendly experience. The main beneficiaries of services developed based on FOD are citizens, of course, businesses, and foreigners. It also includes components that are used to easily configure and develop back offices for governmental service providers. It also includes already integration blocks with governmental shared services from the eGov ecosystem, like those for authentication, like Pass, for signing, unsigned, notification, notify, unlock, empower, and so on and so forth. So this means that services developed using FOD platform, they are automatically reusing these integrations, thus making the development process more efficient and the solution more reliable. The platform is already at a certain level of maturity and has already been used for the digitalization of over 35 most popular and requested public services of different complexity in less than 9 months. So these are now digital services that are heavily used by our nationals, but also from our diaspora that is outside the country. I hope that I answered your question, and it is more clear how FOD is approaching the GovStack principles.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Olga. Please hold on. We will have time for questions shortly. Last but not least, Professor Marijn Janssen needs no introduction here. However, I will introduce him a bit, 2 sentences. Marijn is the full professor in ICT and governance at Delft University of Technology. He's the founding board member of DG Campus, which is a partnership in which government, business, science, and citizens work together to innovate. He's the co-editor-in-chief of Government Information Quarterly, and he's regularly ranked among the leading e-government researchers globally. Marijn, you want some questions, or? Yes?
Please go ahead.
Essentially, we'd like to hear from you what measures can be implemented to ensure the long-term maintenance and evolution of tech standards, taking into account the rapid technological change.
Thank you for the nice introduction, and thank you for being here, because when I remember, we discussed this question already in some of the sessions, so I will try to summarize a little bit what happened over here. First of all, it's not an easy process. Many stakeholders involved, many technologies are over there, and they all need to be integrated. And that takes always a long time. I remember the presentation yesterday from Ida Lindgren about ironies. And I think also there's some irony over here, or maybe we can formulate it in different ways. Because often when people think about GovStacks, building blocks, GovTech and those kinds of things, one thinks about really standardization, but standardization results into less creativity or less innovation or something like that. But the irony over here is that it results into more innovation. It results into easier problem solving. So it's often what people think about it, and the resistance is often the other way around when you look at the benefits and when you look at the literature about it. Then, when I looked at some of the factors that might be important over here, then some kind of compatibility is very important, reputation is very important, competing standards is very important, and that's quite funny because when I'm listening to all the speakers today, we talk about standards and we might have different opinions about it, but in the end they also come together, those standards, and competing standards can help a little bit to advance. Then another factor I found in the literature is technological superiority. I don't know what it is and I don't know how to define it, but when I listen to it, I think we are there already. And when you talk about technology superiority, you also talk about an organization with good reputation. Well, when I only listen today, all the organizations have a very good reputation, and that's very important also to make this happen with that. Then it's quite difficult also to make a next step, and that's why backward and forward compatibility is very important, and creating the flexibility also. And when I listen to it and how it can be used over here, different countries, all the countries have different contexts, they need to have some level of customization for that. Those are essential features over here, and I think they're also covered. We might want to discuss that a little bit more later. So flexibility is very important. Then one of the other factors I found in the literature is the lead user, the big fish. And I was listening today again, and I think, oh, only big fishes are over there. So we already have a critical mass, and to have it on. Then the final reflection I want to add over here is that we might have a tendency to talk about the technology and because it's quite easy. But when I was listening also in what's happening in the different countries online over there, it's not about technology on its own, but often the transformation programs were mentioned, the change programs, the institutions, Jolien, your research area over there were mentioned, and those kind of aspects are crucial also for advancing what we can do. So what measures should be implemented? Well, look at the conditions. And I think many of the conditions are there. Manage those conditions. For the government, spot also new kind of developments, because there will be new developments and that will change a little bit. And if you will change, ensure that the old systems also keep on working, and you have a smooth migration to the new process, and keep on focusing on transformation, so on having the right institutions over there, and ensure that the technology will evolve with that. In a summary, that's what I get from the literature, Thomas.
Thank you very much for your insightful comments. We are opening the floor for questions. You can direct them to all panel members. You can direct them individually. The floor is open. Maybe I will start. Okay, no, I don't have to start.
Thanks. Yeah, just going back to the transition between standards and standardization, that journey. Given that most of the standards are not usually compulsory, they are there, but they need to be implemented one way or the other. Now, in some contexts, for example, when you talk about, say, AI standard I just imagined, regulations are already also being developed that will tie into those standards and make sure that is going to be implemented. So in the context of GovTech and some of the other standards, context that we're talking about, what kinds of mechanisms do you see, that could be adopted to ensure that at least there'll be a reasonable level of standardization emerging from those standards?
So I think we have to remember about two things. First of all, so being always open for the feedback and for the tips. And the second one, as the AI policy we're talking about, just do the focus group and open up the focus group for everyone. And after the long discussions, after combining all of our agendas and all of our main goals, we can do something that would be suitable for everyone. Because as Yolanda said earlier, we can do the solution based on one of our needs, but we have to think of each and everyone in the process. So basically just being open-minded, that is it.
Yes. Any response from Rwanda from Moldova.
Well, on our side, I maybe would mention that we are always guided by our needs in selecting standards and building something in a standardized manner, but also by our national particularities. Of course, we are concentrating on open standards. We are not reinventing the wheel, but in the same time, our objective is to have an integrated national ecosystem, a scalable one and open one to technologies and innovation. That is why we are paving the road for digitalization. We are trying to choose and to combine those standards that will help us in this journey and will provide at the same time efficiency and will support service providers in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gloria?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, exactly as what Olga said, even as we are driven by the needs, let's say maybe these emerging technologies, we're trying to keep up with them, but sometimes we have to take one step back and ask ourselves, do we need all of them? So we need to really look at what we need and what can be more effective and efficient for our citizens. So as we are in the position to serve them, so I think that's really main our focus. Some of the international standards, we adopt them the way they are, but sometimes and more oftenly actually, we also do a customization around them in order to fit our own context. So we will use available standard because they have been already there, and whatever we are trying to do, it's not far different from what others have already done, but we need to make sure that those standards really fit into our context. So that's what I'll add. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yolanda.
And as I was reflecting on how relevant it is not to start from zero and not to reinvent the wheel, and that's the objective of GovStack, is one of the biggest challenges in public sector is actually reaching the necessary consensus to standardize, to implement a standard in a transversal way. And in the case of Mexico, we are the federation, meaning that for every single measure, our mandate was at the federal level, but we needed to reach consensus with 32 governors from different political parties and 2,445 mayors, meaning the municipalities, which in Mexico are completely autonomous on how they regulate service provision. And departing from a standard-based body documentation really speed up the process of reaching the necessary consensus in the Interministerial Commission of CIOs, the National CIOs meeting, to, of course, try as much as possible to customize, but also as much as possible to respect the standard, because that facilitated delivery. And at the end, we were more focused on building that capability in the local governments to understand the standard, to see what was feasible according to our national regulatory framework, but also moving forward in the decision-making process, like agree how much time we were going to devote to analyze the standard, hopefully not much customizations, but then really focus on using that to speed up the process of simplifying the service catalog and delivering. And I think that's the spirit of GovStack. And when we launched the prize, it was with the objective to identify leading best practices. We were so happy with FOD, which is the winner framework that Olga referred, because the GovStack technical specifications are in the second version now. It's still very early. So the more we have feedback from countries that are already very experienced in this process, and the more diversity we have in that implementation feedback, the better the technical specification becomes.
Yeah, the standard should be a guide for those who don't feel well with technology and stuff to do this one by one and checking the checkbox and do the implement technology, right? So it should be easy and accessible for each and everyone.
Hello, Alexander Rurowski. I very much like the discussion about the standards. Just one comment. Beside of all technological things, beside of the standards, I would very much concentrate also on this communication part of how to communicate the standards. Just to give you one of the examples. 3 years ago, I was in one of the projects for one of the city halls here in Poland, integrating 6 cities in the metropolitan area in educational process, connecting the data, open data, and all the next steps. The biggest challenge by itself was not to set the standard. The biggest challenge was that it was announced that there should be a central standard for that area. The rational decision for that was to wait for the standard. The biggest problem was they were waiting. What's the problem? They are still waiting. It was 3 years ago. All the process was freezed, not because of technological part, not because of the fact they didn't have the standard, not because of the fact they did not arrange the standard, but they were waiting to follow something which was rational. The biggest problem in here was just about the communication, because from current perspective, it seemed to be rational to integrate the local project and then maybe next try to adapt, integrate it to the central standard. And I would say that just to sum up, technological parts are super important in here, but sadly sometimes there's quite basic part like communication in here might be challenging as well. Thank you.
Right?
Yeah. Interesting to hear those kind of stories. You're not the first organization who was waiting for it. And when I think about standardization, I always think about the beautiful picture. We already have 9 standards, and what we're doing, we will arrive at the 10th standard. We develop a new one that's better than the old one, and then we have a new, another standard on top of it. They're already standards. They are out there. The question is, how much value do they offer, and are they superior or not? And if it's a good standard, then you look also at the future. Yeah? You look also about the next steps that can be taken. So it's always wise not to look for perfection, and not to look to in the best way what is possible, but to look at what is feasible, what we can do currently, start small, reduce the complexity. One of the reasons for using all those standards is reduce the complexity, keep it simple, then we don't have to have all kinds of very smart people with all kinds of expertise. We still need a lot of expertise in smart people, but not that many, because there are already standards for doing it. We need expertise about that, and then develop it. And it's better to select something than not doing anything at all. If you wait till it's perfect, well, we wouldn't have any technology advantages anymore. We would only talk. I'm a Dutch person, we like to talk a lot about those kind of things, but at one stage, and often after 1 or 2 years, we also like to act after having a lot of talking over here. Just a short reflection.
I was promising a voice to Nitesh. I also like to ask any ladies in the audience for some questions, if possible. Nitesh, please.
Can I go first? Okay.
Go.
One very interesting thing about standards is market parties like standards. Standards liberate and show how government agencies want services for the coming decade. What happens with standards is after a while you get vendor lock-in. Big monopolies coming up because the standards are clear, they are very good at doing this at large scale across multiple countries. So what kind of mechanisms do you feel that we need or see working to avoid vendor lock-in, getting monopolies on GovTech? Because we have that risk because we are standardizing more and more of the public sector.
Well, I think, in my opinion, we should standards are very good, but to make and to constitute a full packet of the standards, it just takes time. So the main goal we need to focus on for now, probably for GovTech digitalization process, main thing and key thing we should focus on is security and cybersecurity. And the standards should be widely open, but with the security bar that wouldn't let our data, our private things to go out. So actually the standards should be widely open, but with the cybersecurity bar.
Okay, any comments from Gloria, Olga? Any responses?
I was mentioning in my previous intervention that we are using mostly open standards, but in what is related to our legal technological stack, we are trying to respect standardized one because it is very much related to the maintainability of this ecosystem. Some of our partner institutions, yes, they are not very happy with that. They're saying, why you're imposing this to that standard? But we cannot admit to have a jungle within a jungle of technologies within our ecosystem. That won't be any more an ecosystem, and we would need that would impose and will create many more also security risks if we will have very different and technologies that do not fit one with each other. That is why, yes, sometimes these are difficult discussions with our partners, but every time we have our argument that if we want to have an ecosystem, an integrated solution to be well from the perspective of the security, we need to stick to those standards, that technology stack that was adopted, for example, within the public sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gloria?
Yes, I wanted to add on that. I think, yes, even for Rwanda, we are using open standard, but I wanted to touch on the part of vendor locking and monopoly. So I think even for us, actually in Rwanda, we've had that issue like in the previous years, but now everyone is like, we are now awake. Now we know that we have so many options. There are so many options there, and there are so many alternatives there. So, and then each and every government needs to know that you don't need to lock yourself with one vendor or one, one provider. So you have so many options. You need to go through those options and alternatives in order for you to make sure that you really understand your selection and why you select this kind of vendor or this kind of provider when it comes to technologies. And, also to bring your team, within that selection, we need to, the knowledge base, the knowledge transfer way of doing things. You need to bring your team in order for them to really understand the core basis of that technology you are selecting, the core basis of the standard you are selecting, in order for them to be familiar, so that the dependency, like the private sector or vendor dependency, gets like at a lower level, where your team has the capacity to build and to do things sometimes or most of the time themselves. I think that's why I'll give you an example for the enterprise architecture, the enterprise service bus that we developed in-house. We had option to buy some of them, they are already there, but we thought that it might be really good for us to build our own. And our team got trained and we started really building our own service bus. Now it is operation. So I think when it comes to monopoly and standards and locking ourselves with one vendor or one provider, we need to know and to communicate to our teams they need to know that we have options and alternatives. We need to explore all those options and alternatives in order for us to select something which is suitable to us. I think that's what I will add on that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Do we have any questions, particularly from ladies in the audience? Not really. Please.
I'm happy to wait, though, if somebody else wants to ask a question.
No, okay. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much for the insights so far. My question is related closely to what we talked about before, that I think we have most of the standards, we have interfaces, we have technologies, but at least from my point of view, the problem is often that they're not mandatory, which leads to exactly reinventing the wheel over and over again because the people think they can do it better. So do you have any insights or suggestions on how to increase government agencies' motivation to use these standards? Because I think they sometimes need a little bit of hand-holding. Thank you.
This is a little bit related to the previous comments. That's why I want. First of all, when you talk of standards, in the Netherlands we have a beautiful comply or explain list. That does mean that the standard is not a regulation, but if it's on the list, the idea is that as a government agency you will comply with it, but if you can't comply it, you can explain why you cannot comply and then do something else. The risk is that you always explain why you don't comply with the standard, but the idea is that you use the standard more and more. The problem with standards is that's not the end. Standards will evolve over time. It's not the final thing, and it seems to we in our discussion sometimes think, oh, now we standardize it and we are there yet. But think about what's happening with, for example, the USB. Do you remember USB 1? Do you remember USB 2, the most commonly used over here, but we also have USB 3 nowadays, and we're already in the process of developing USB 4 standards for that. So standardization is not the end, but it's an ongoing target with that, and it helps us also to organize our developments in a certain way that we are able to progress without that we have to wait for everything. That's why standards are so important. It deals with the heterogeneity. And once we have the standards, it's so easy to plug in, because then we can get competition. I was looking at, for example, identity was one of the components. Well, identity really is a moving target. Nietzsche might talk a lot about that for hours. But what we have right now will not be the same as 10 years from now. That's for sure. Security, as mentioned by you over here, will change the things. So it's really a moving target. But to focus it, we need the standards to have it now and ensure that it's forward compatible. And I think you're waiting now for responding, or to both of you probably.
I would say that the standard should stay as a soft law, because legislation, it takes time and it's getting older. And as we said earlier, the AI Act they are working on EU, it is not even implied, it is not even done, and it's actually a bit old nowadays, before even it's existing, in legal existing. So I think we have to keep it in the soft law area so we could develop it and change it, and using them, because using them by other public entities, it's just changing the mindset and just learning them and teaching them to use it. I think that there's no other way. We cannot force them to use it. And forcing them by doing the legislation, it just takes too much time and it's not worth an effort.
I was reflecting that together with the communication that was raised here and how we ensure compliance, one of our main focus areas in the research agenda is governance. And as I see Gabriela raising her hand, when we talk about governance, it's because we need a strong mandate in the digital agencies and authority. And the mandate should allow for a very clear path on how those entities that are responsible to comply to a standard are going to come an agreement. how the digital authority is going to work with those agencies that are mandatory to comply to the standard are going to implement it, and what is the mechanism to have enough flexibility to keep updating the standard according to how technology changes. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have seen so far, because digital transformation should be a state policy. That's why we have digital authorities. That's why digital agendas should be part of the national planning effort, because that gives them mandate and authority to establish the mechanism to define and reach an agreement within a time frame, which technical specification are we going to use for digital identity. Participate, at least that's how we did it in Mexico, participate with all CIOs that were responsible to implement the single sign-on policy and the digital service design standard that we established as a rule of law. But then we left to the technical working groups enough flexibility to update the digital service standard based on the learnings that we got when implementing. But digital agencies need a strong mandate because they are digital authorities. So the governance part, I think it's very interesting because you need to shape the process more than the technology itself. But at the end, it needs to be a mandate, and it needs to be a very strong governance with high-level political support to be able to deliver.
Yes, I'm a time watcher here, and we run out of time with the break actually shortened by 20 minutes. I have a suggestion. Gabriela will ask a question, I will ask my question, and then we will continue with the workshop 40 minutes from now. Marijn will be chairing this workshop with the answers to those questions. Gabriela, please.
Thank you, Tomasz. That's a great idea. Because I'm more just thinking and elaborating from what we have talked on our track on citizen engagement. And one of the main challenges was, here we are talking about democratizing access to digital service, but how to ensure that the services that are being provided are being used and they are relevant for the citizens to engage with. So in Brazil we had the case that the portals are providing the services but they are not being used and people are still going through other means to actually have access to them. So I liked very much the idea of the female contest and how the women, what's the role of women actually bringing these digital services forward and these ideas forward. So maybe we can explore a bit this idea and what your expectation with the output of this call and this contest for women.
Thank you very much. I suggest we deal with this question after the break. I have one question from myself because I'm chairing another session after break, won't be able to attend. What came to my mind is that the implementing standards is balancing the change and stability, balancing between structures and technology. And I'm wondering, in GovTech practice, how deep you have to go into changing structures, changing institutions, legislations on which we are building technology solutions, and to what extent what we are doing is basically building new capabilities upon established structures. So how much we construct, how much we have to destroy in the process and reconstruct?
Actually, we don't have to destroy anything because there's no standards. So we are basically working from scratch. And our policy is to maintain the less legislation as possible. We're doing the basic minimum because it just takes time. And we want to, do the things as GovTech platform. We can do it, we can just buy, innovative procurement. We can do it just like that. And our goal is to maintain the process as possible, as quick as possible. So basically that's it. We don't have to change a lot.
Can we continue after the break then, yes? And I'd like to ask you to join me in thanking our wonderful panel for insightful presentation.